got the headrest installed. Got this little bracket up here for the wiring as well as the mount for the headrest. And got the spotlights on there. And they all work. I've got a little flasher button in case I need to flash people. Roll cage struggles. I already had this half cage at the back, just a bar, roll bar. It came down here, but that was in the way. I didn't quite like it, it was too high up, so I chopped it anyway, lowered it down. And I kind of like that as a half cage, just the 2 bars. But then if you roll it, it's gonna be on my lights and on the steering wheel. And that's the idea of this bar I want to put across the front here, like a bumper bar. I think if you hit something, at least this will collapse a bit, take a bit of the impact. So yeah, if a bar goes across there, that's pretty sweet. But I just don't like this windscreen. For one, you have to climb in through the front. You can't fit through the sides. Well, I can't because I'm fucking 6 foot ginormous. And yeah, it's just a bit ugly. Alright, well here she is, the big wheel. I've been designing the roll cage for it. I was trying to experiment, put a full cage on and just see how easy it was to get in and out, how comfortable it was without banging your elbows and arms and knees on things. There's a lot of trial and error, but I decided just to get rid of the idea of a full roll cage and stick with my half cage, and instead I pretty much just added a big ass bumper on it. And it proved to work quite well, this cage, the setup I've got, because I mean I clipped a few things that protected my tyre from getting caught, so that was great, and I actually rolled it as well, so it was a good test, proper test. Luckily I got off pretty well. All I did was bust one of my LED lights here. It was kind of a good thing that I went off a bit of a bank and tipped it, and I was lucky enough to jump out. Whether I stayed in there or not, I would have been fine, but I didn't have my belt on. I was going over sideways, so I just leaped out, and it was quite good. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had that full cage on. So yeah, I quite like it. If it caught the my crash into the ditch, I'll put that in. But yeah, I think that is going to be the final cut, because yeah, it's a lot tidier. There's not too much going on with bars and cages and everything. So that's it. Probably paint her up. Yeah, make it look a bit tidier. I have to fix my light. Luckily it's only cheap. I'm not too worried about it. It still works. over the weekend I took the beast for a test run, found some tracks, found a BMX track, and did some jumps and bent the axle actually. So I took down the shop down the road, hydraulic press, and just straightened it out. Pretty damn good. No more wobble, but yeah, I need to change the suspension massively. It is way too stiff, and I had some Butu rear shocks from the parts quad that I got out the back. So I had those on, way too stiff, the angle was wrong, but everything here is so compact and small that there's not much travel or compression on these springs. There's not enough leverage from the pivot point. Maybe if the axle was further back, it would change things. But smaller spring for a start from the front of the front of the quad. That's where these came from. And I'm going to lower the angle to create a softer suspension. I may have to shift the point down, which I really don't want to do, but if I have to make a bracket that big, I'll just weigh up my options. But smaller shock, lower angle, it's going to make a difference. So we'll see how we go. What I'm going to do, I think the best bet, might be a little bit ugly, but I'm going to chop this bracket off. I'm actually going to reuse it, and I'll mount that bracket down here. So my new mounting point will be lower, it'll be further back, I can get a better angle, and there's a bit more leverage on my shock. Something like that. They're pretty well parallel. It would mean mounting them on this side, so on the outer side, or I could just drill some holes and use that as one of the sides of the plates. But if I use the side, it actually changes the angle and where the positioning of this. Tricky one. I want soft, super soft, like that, perhaps. We shall see. So there we go. Shocks are mounted. Much more angle on them. A little box section here that's a lot stronger, and I've loaded it up with weld. I might cap these off for a bit of extra strength, but it works. It works relatively well. Give her the old bounce test. It's definitely dampened. There's even a bit of flex, body flex. It's definitely softer than it was, so I'm happy.
Alright, so I know these aren't the right shocks to use. I was just trying to make do with what I had lying around and be as tight ass as much as I could be, really. But in the future I will get some shocks that are a bit more suited, and I may even mount them correctly, because I know in the clips that I just showed about suspension angles, I had a bit of a skewed logic going on there, so I'll have to get that right for the next one.
I'm always trying to find new tracks and bits and pieces. I mean, there's not a hell of a lot around here. I'll eventually find some decent riding tracks, but I'm experimenting for now, and I made it a little bit, but I know it's pointless to go beyond that, so that ain't gonna happen. Yeah, okay. That was a bit funky. I got out fine. Went off the edge though. Me light bar! So I don't know how much you can see with a bug eye lens, fisheye lens, but I can see a big ass bend in that.